We'll get comfortable real quick. First off, yes, I look like sherbet ice cream right now. Hi, I am Joelle, and I have been reading Again But Better by Christine, who she is also a YouTuber who, on top of commenting and speaking about other people's books, wrote a book on her own and decided to share that with everyone else. So this is the hardcover version. I like showing people this because to me, I'm more of like a paperback person. I really prefer to not have hardcovers because I kind of hate the actual, like the cover for the cover. So this is what it looks like without it, and I kind of like it better. It's simple, and it's like a piece of toast with butter on it. I don't know. Anyway, I like it better. I mean, this is cute, but to me, I find it more of a hassle to have covers for the books than anything. Like, they're so pretty, but I prefer paperback. Anyway, this is the hardcover. I think she only has hardcover, but this is what you get. So in the story, I don't want to do any spoilers. So I'm the kind of person that I just talk about everything right off the bat. So if you're wanting to read this, just read it. It's not the worst thing in the world, and it's not the best thing in the world. I did enjoy it, and I'm going to talk about why it wasn't like the top reading book of all time for me, and it wasn't the lowest for me. I hope it didn't come up. I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling it. So just join me right now if you can. Again But Better, I have to say, for me, it mentioned a little bit of magic, but I didn't think the part that was Again But Better was the part that was Again But Better. Do you know what I mean? Like, I thought her going away to school in London was her Again But Better. Does that make sense? That was like my one thing. I was like, oh, that's where the book is going. Like, after that scene happens. Let's start from the beginning. So we have our main character. Her name is Shane, and she is about 20. She's been doing college for a little bit. She's doing pre-med for her parents, and you find out that her parents are pretty forceful on their way of like how they want her to be and who they want her to be, and they are not okay with her doing any other route other than what they have set for her. They're paying for her college, so she has to do what they want her to do. So she decides, this girl, she decides to make a pamphlet saying that the school in London that she ends up going to has a pre-med course for her. They don't. And her parents are like, sure, we'll pay for your semester abroad and enjoy it and be pre-med student. Instead, she actually goes to college for a semester to learn about writing and to focus on a major in that and see if that's what she wants to do. Because she's been going to college for a little while already, and she isn't happy. She's not okay with where she is, and she feels like if she doesn't try to do what she wants to do, then she's never going to be okay with actually being a doctor and doing what her parents want her to do. So she's taking this leap and taking this opportunity to do what she wants to do, but she's doing it. As a parent myself, I don't know how I'd feel if my child lied to me that way, but I don't agree with her parents at all. I don't like her parents at all in this story. I just mean, what? So we go, and so Shane goes, and she flies on this plane. The first thing she does is actually meet this woman. And this woman comments about her life and how she's reading her little notes about Shane. It's even like on the back of this book, like the things Shane wants to do while she's in London. And this person talks about it. Just a keynote. Like, I mean, you meet this woman later on, so she's important. She's important. So you sense Shane becoming a little bit more comfortable already. She's saying she doesn't want to be as close in as she was previously, which honestly, I don't understand at all, because her character development, it doesn't seem like it really was a development. It seems like it was just the kind of person that just didn't feel like being themselves in the situation that they were in, and then once they were in the situation they were in, she was more comfortable, which again is fine, but at the same time it didn't feel like, oh, I'm this shy person and I've always been this shy person and closed in. It felt like, oh, I finally found people that I actually want to be friends with, so I'm going to. She kept saying how shy she was and how she never really did these things, but it never felt like this was the first time she acted like this. and didn't feel like she'd never had friends, like real friends before, or had gone through certain conversations that she had before. Like, I don't know how to put that, but if you've read the book, I feel like you would know what I'm talking about. She just didn't seem like the character development that was leading up for her did not feel level with like how she actually was in the book. For majority of the first part, like most of the book actually, you're experiencing her going and spending time with her friends, traveling. They go to Rome, they go to Paris. I found a lot of flaws with this story and how you get to know her, but I felt like she never really talked to anybody about how she felt. She felt very one-dimensional, even for her friends. When she tried to even have conversations with her friends, I felt like they were trying to be more deep than she was. And then I felt more interested in wanting to know about them than I did about her, because they actually tried to feel and be emotional in certain situations than she was. So like, I guess the rest of this can just be a quick rundown. So she goes abroad, she makes some friends, she goes and travels with these friends, she has some really odd experiences, and she keeps running into this lady who was the lady on the plane. Like the first part of the book, like the first paragraph of the book was her talking to this lady about all the things she wants to do. And this lady is magic. Anyway, we keep running into her, and I know like she's going to be a reason that something happens, and I don't know what. Like she sees her, Shane sees her, and then all of a sudden she disappears. And it felt so out of place for me. This lady just popping up and then all of a sudden being like, you are the chosen one who I'm going to use my magic for. I don't know. Shane's having a great time. She likes Pilot, and then his girlfriend comes, who I think he's totally shady for this. I really don't appreciate how he goes abroad. He doesn't even tell Shane that he has a girlfriend, and he's hanging out there flirting with her. It just wasn't one of those things I found really appropriate and a liking point for Pilot or Shane. And then they still kept flirting even after Pilot like was outed by Atticus. Like Pilot didn't even say it. His roommate told everybody that he had a girlfriend. And then they still flirted up until when Amy got there. I don't know. And then Amy finds out, and then she's like super angry at the world. Not only does Amy show up, but Shane's parents show up. And through the whole part of the whole first part of the book, Shane is lying to her parents, telling her that pre-med classes are going great, like she's working at a clinic with one of her roommates who is not studying medicine either. She's studying law. And eventually they have them all come to dinner, and I don't even like the way, like I don't like her parents at all. They're very forceful even to her friends about bringing them to dinner. Like some of them had other things to do, and they were insisting on like coming to dinner. And I'm like, this is gonna be a mess, because these people can't take no for an answer. And that's just the wrong kind of people to bring in this situation that's about to happen. So dinner happens, and they're at this restaurant, like a big restaurant, and Shane's just like holding in her breath, hoping that they don't ask certain questions, which of course they do. And when they do ask these questions, nobody else, like none of her roommates, none of her friends, except Pilot, because Pilot's the only person she told, and he tries to help, but he did an awful job helping. Oh my gosh, everything hits the fan. Everything's just a mess. I don't agree with yelling at your kids to an extent. Like I shout at my daughter to like, stop touching that, but I don't call her names, and I definitely don't cuss at her. This dad, when he found out, like as a parent, like I'm so frustrated. It's a fictional character, and I'm so mad at this dad. But he called her like a little shit in front of her friends, in front of other people at the restaurant, belittling her and calling her that name. And I could only imagine, like in the character's perspective, like how she probably was treated with any ideas that she had other than doing what they wanted to do. So I didn't like it. And her mom was the kind of person that, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, honey, you don't want to do this? What do you mean you don't want to do this? You don't want to go to med school? You don't want to do... Like, she's the kind of person that would freak you out to the point where like, okay, I'll do it. Okay, all right. I was so mad. So they find out she's allowed to finish the semester. She also had an internship at a magazine called Pact that was going great for her. It was going amazing, and she stopped going even though she had the rest of the semester. And I was like, girl, like, you always have a good time. And then she stopped talking to her friends. She stopped talking to everybody because her parents found out, and they said she's going to finish med school. She's going to do this. She's 20 years old, and she can't even tell her parents no. So she leaves London. She's all done. 6 years jump. Like, so you get a 6-year jump into the future. So Shane's 26. Majority of her friends are about 26, 27 years old now. And she's finished med school, and she's in New York interviewing for a job. And who happens to be in New York? Pilot. And he works for a company, and he's like a computer guy, I believe. So doing nothing what he wanted to do with what he hoped he could possibly have a career in, which was music. So the only thing I didn't like is how the realistic point of like us being young and being like, oh, I'm gonna do something I'm passionate about, and life throws something at you and you do something that you're good at but you don't really like to do. So that's for Shane and for Pilot. They're good at what they're doing, but that doesn't mean they're happy with their lives that they're living. This girl has not seen him for like 6 years and goes to his job and just goes, hey, so wanna get some coffee? How's it going? Oh, by the way, did you feel anything for me? Like, was there something between us, 6 years ago? Cause my fiance asked me to marry him, and I just, once he asked me that, I thought of you. And I needed to know if something was between us. That's pretty much what happened. And as it's ending, they're going back in the elevator, and they talk about, if we had a second chance to do anything, I'd probably want to go back to, January 10th, I think, and restart everything. And then all of a sudden, everything starts shaking. They think they're gonna die. And then they're put in their younger bodies in the dorm area, in the living room area of the dorm in London. And then Pilot stormed in and was like, Shane, what did you do? And honestly, the way she came to him 6 years later, I really wouldn't be surprised if she was just crazy. Because she was still so obsessed with him. After all that time, it never felt natural. Their connection, even at the end, it never felt like two people who really got each other. Sure, they were quirky to each other and they shared funny little moments. But there's a difference between a friendship like that and an actual, I don't know. It never felt fully there for me, but that's just me. So they're there, they both realize, okay, we both have a second chance. Which was just one of those things I was like, why did the magic lady take Pilot back? I don't get it. I mean, the only person who could see the magic lady at first was Shane, and then all of a sudden the magic lady, you too. I don't get it. I don't know. In the end, it kind of made sense because in order for them to end up together, he had to change his perspective on everything going on as well and make a better decision than he did the first time. So I get it, but it didn't make sense because the main character was Shane, not Pilot. So in hindsight, to make it so I don't have to repeat everything over again, they do the same thing over. They go on the same trips, they hang out with the same people, they make the same friends, and things are going okay. They're doing well and they're actually in a relationship. And he said he broke up with Amy, and then there was a stupid moment where it was just stupid TV drama where it's I sent her a voicemail, but she didn't read it. So she came to visit me and thinks I'm still her boyfriend. And then he broke up with her. But then it snapped Shane out of the way she was thinking, which was, oh, I get the second chance with Pilot. She realizes that this isn't a second chance to be with him. It's a second chance to do what she wanted to do, which was to be a writer, to be an intern and try and work at a magazine and maybe write books and be somebody that she wanted to be. So once that situation with Amy and Pilot happened, she just stopped talking to him. She didn't really say much. She just okay, well, we're not going to talk anymore, pretty much. And I'm going to go work on things for myself, which is fine. Just the way she did it. She never talks about anything with anybody. She just goes and does it, and then everyone's just completely understanding, which you would hope people would be, but at the same time, it's just not real. Like, no, people don't do that. She goes and is killing it at the magazine place called Pack. She's doing great. She's actually writing stories about the places she's traveled. She's doing an amazing job, and she gets to know her boss, Wendy, and they go out to drinks, and she hangs out with her coworkers, and she's doing great in her classes. She's not really talking to any of her friends very much, or her roommates very much, but they're keeping in touch, and she's successfully doing something and enjoying life. And she's successfully doing what she got a second chance to do. I want to pause before I say the rest of the stuff, because then there's the scene again with Shane's parents. And I was so proud of her. That was like, once I knew she was going back in time, like once she was redoing everything, that was like the only scene I wanted to see her go through again, was the scene with her parents. Because I knew that she wasn't gonna just take it. She wasn't just gonna be like allowing them to yell at her and tell her what to do. Because one, she was 6 years older. She also knew that no matter what she did at that point, her parents weren't going to talk to her anymore. Right after she came back the first time, her parents still never talked to her. They rarely saw her. She didn't get anything from them from coming back and doing what they wanted her to do. So I think she finally was like, nothing's going to make you happy at this point, so I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, there's no med school here. I'm doing this, I'm passionate about it. And probably the thing that hit me the most, a very powerful moment in the book, was when Shane's dad was telling her, like, she couldn't make it as a writer. Like, she can't be successful, that's not a career. And she asked him, she's like, why don't you believe in me? She's like, I do everything else right, and you don't think I can do this. And I was like, girl, you tell him. Like, that was the moment. Like, that was probably after that I was like, the book's done. Like, we're done. Like, that's all I cared about. With that said, at the end, her boss, Wendy, talks to her about her husband and how he's also a big writer, and actually is an author, one of Shane's favorite authors. And it reminds Shane that just because this woman is successful and she's, in charge of this huge company, doesn't mean she can't have someone to like share all of that with someone. But she's not the one that comes out and tries to fix things. It's Pilot, who's been following her everywhere. I don't know. Anyway, he goes and serenades her, and they have like cute little moments, and it was one of those things I was like, cool. Anyway, it jumps again to like more present time, and she's a successful writer. She's written a book. She's also an editor for 17 magazine, and then he's pursuing music. Everything's going great, and then he proposes to her, and that's pretty much the book. Is just like an odd conclusion, which is fine. It just works. But okay, so there's a YouTuber, and he said it very perfectly, actually. So he read this book, and it's Hunter, the book Hunter. I think that's what his name is. Like, Hunter basically said it perfectly, which was, this is basically a Wattpad book, like a fanfic book. And Christine, the author, put a lot of herself in this book. So if you know anything about her, you know so much about this character already and her personality, which I didn't mind it because I really love Christine. I love watching her content. I just felt like it was about her the whole time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like people bash her a lot because of it, but if I was gonna write a book like this, then I'd probably put myself in that perspective, because it's one of those fantasy, like, oh, if I was gonna do this and this is how I would do it. And I don't know, like I think she put a lot of plugins of herself in it, and some people don't like that. Like sometimes people like to really disassociate actual reality from fictional books, but it was fun. I liked it. It wasn't a book I wouldn't recommend to someone. So last month I was going through a really, really tough time, and I just needed something that was a pick-me-up, something very positive, something that wasn't going to drag me down as I read it. And this was uppity enough to where I kept wanting to read it, especially in the time I was just feeling down. I was happy with this conclusion. I was happy with the read. Okay, I feel like I talked a lot. Cute little notes. If you've seen Lost, then you know all the little things that people say, like, we have to go back. Don't tell me what I can't do. The numbers, which I don't know by heart. Oh my god, I have to find them now. No, I'm not going to. I don't have time. I'm done. You can go. I'm done talking. I don't know what you're still doing here. Why are you still looking at me? What are you doing?